Hi.
I'm muted. Hi.
Hi. Aw, I'm
Like my
so
living room?
I'm so glad to see you. I,
Oh,
as usual, when I turn on my computer, I have to go take the squeaky toy away from the dog.
oh, Jackson.
Sorry. I think I pulled his mustache.
Hi, Jackson.
His mustache and the toy are so similar. Sorry about that, baby.
How old is he now?
He's 11. He's almost 12. I like how your living room looks. Look at your nice pink rug.
Thanks.
Yeah. So we want to do the community corner. We want to experiment with doing it in this format instead of photographs and someone writing, because I'm not comfortable writing about myself, you know? So thanks for being the first person.
Sure.
I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, so will you tell me your full name?
Amber Rangel Mooney.
Nice. I couldn't remember the full thing.
Yeah, it's been a little getting used to signing it, writing it, saying it. But I'm happy. Yeah, it feels right. So yeah.
Nice. What have you been up to?
Working a lot, unfortunately. Well, grateful. I shouldn't say that. I'm grateful to have a job. So I'm working a lot. But this summer, hiking as much as I can, whitewater tubing, and enjoying time outside. Squeezed in a road trip from New Orleans to Albany, which was fun. So
From where?
New Orleans,
Oh, wow. Did you fly down there?
yeah.
And then you drove a new car home or something?
So I went and retrieved my friend Jen, who was driving back to Albany. So she lives in New Orleans, and she kind of decided it was time to move, but she wasn't sure where in the world she wanted to go yet. So she figured Mom's place in Albany might work for the time being to ride out COVID.
Yeah. I'm shocked at how many people have moved during quarantine. Like so many people I know have moved.
Yeah, yeah. So she's one of them. She was just like, she was feeling like it might be time to leave New Orleans pre-COVID anyway, like her time was wrapping up
Yeah.
there. And then she was like, well, I don't really have any place to go, but Mom's house might be a place to hang out to ride out COVID.
So perfect.
Yeah.
What were you doing down in DC the other day?
So that was actually just a stop on our drive. So it happened to coincide. I knew it would be for the March on Washington that we would be driving through that day. So I said, hey, let's stop Thursday night in DC and have that be our last leg, because from like DC to Albany is a 6-hour drive. So I
Yeah.
said, let's do that. And so I didn't realize it was the last night of the Republican convention until like that day, I think.
Yeah.
So, there's been apparently nonstop. I mean, the protesting hasn't stopped in DC. It's been every day,
Right.
since May, end of May, early June. But it was, heightened a little bit because of the convention, or the convention finishing. And then, of course, the March on Washington the next day. So I knew I would be able to stay for the march, and I didn't. We had to finish driving home on Friday, but it was really great to be there to just.
This is such a good example. I'm not trying to cut you off, but this is such a good example of, I think I know what's going on. I have no idea what's going on. Like the pieces of your story so far, I'm like, oh, I got that wrong. Oh, I got that wrong. Okay. Well, I mean, I knew you were in DC and you had beautiful photos, really nice photos.
Yeah.
But I didn't know all of that. Okay. Tell me what you were
Yeah.
doing.
No, that's okay. So it it was great to be there. I would have liked to have been there all day. I would have liked to stay for the march, but I was starting grad school on Saturday, so I had to get home in time for that. So unfortunately, wasn't able to stay for the march, but I went early in the morning and I walked around the area. Um, there's thousands of people lining up to enter and just vendors, and the energy felt really good.
Good.
Yeah, it was good. It definitely a different energy from the protest the night before, but it felt, I don't think that my voice is necessarily the most important one or the one that needs to be raised up at this time in this whole conversation on race. But it was really good to be there and just be a part of a historic moment,
I feel like
whatever little part.
I feel like every person that shows up to anything, but especially to this, it's like a vote, or it's like spending your money. Like you're spending your physical time and presence with this. So I think you're super important,
Yeah.
whether you say anything or whether you don't say anything. So what about the night before?
So we had gone to dinner to one of my favorite Ethiopian restaurants in DC, which there are none in Albany, unfortunately. So whenever I travel, I always look for good Ethiopian food. And there's a great place
Hold
in
on,
DC.
have you been to the one in Burlington?
No,
I haven't either. I was hoping you were going to be like, yes.
I didn't know. Now I know. Now it's on my list.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Okay.
Okay.
But we weren't really planning on doing much that night. We had just driven a long day. And we were planning on dinner and maybe grabbing a drink. And I said, oh, I know this great bar right across from the White House. Jen had never been to DC. So I said, oh, there's this great bar across from the White House. It's where all the important people, quote unquote, go, and the lobbyists and legislators. So I was like, let's go there. Well, that's where the protest was, right in front of. And so we hung out in the street for a while. We walked right into it because it was right in front of the White House. And the streets were all blocked off for blocks and to cars. And we walked around for a while, and then we attempted to go into the hotel bar because the bar's in the hotel. And we got stopped at the door. They're like, where are you going? Are you a registered guest? And I was like, no, I'm going to Off the Record. They're like, no, it's closed till after Labor Day. I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll just hang out we'll just hang out with the protesters. So we just went back to the streets, and it was there were some tense moments, some kind of like scary moments when the cops are like rushing different areas and you don't really know what happened. But it was, I think without incidents, it's hard to call it peaceful when there are some very tense moments like that, when you have, cops rushing through and different,
Right.
I definitely saw, people even fighting amongst each other, different groups. But yeah, so that's what we were attempting to grab a drink and head back to the hotel, but we found ourselves right in the center of it. And
Kind of cool.
Yeah,
like you didn't plan for it. You didn't necessarily think, oh, I have to be there. And there you were.
Yeah.
It's really kind of cool.
It was pretty powerful too. Like it was, you felt the gravity of the situation, right? Like, yeah, I would say that's probably the best way to describe it. You really felt the gravity of the situation, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I'm sure there's better words to describe than cool, but
it's it's kind of like there's a fire burning and you got to go see it, and it's like no one wants a fire burning, but if a fire's burning, you can't, and you're nearby, you kind of want to see it.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking like about voyeurism. I'm talking about like it's intense, and this is like intensely what is happening in our country right now, and we all have a bit of identity around our country and our state and our hometown or the town we live in. Like, there's just groups and subgroups, and you got to be at the epicenter.
Yeah. It was a moment for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What are you excited about, like, for the future?
The biggest thing I would say is I think the shift that's happening right now. And I think that, I think that, the whole world is undergoing this massive shift in different areas, right? I think there's a huge shift in consciousness happening. I'm excited to see what happens, because and really to be a part of it, to watch so much history happen and to be a part of it, because I don't think, people talk about going back to normal. I don't think we're going back to normal. And
I mean, we're always going toward normal.
Sure. I don't want normal. Like, let's I think we're moving to something better. And I think that it's
I think by normal, they just mean predictable.
Probably. Yeah.
But
people like that. Some people.
Yeah, I don't think we're going back to how everything used to be either.
And I think for the good, right? I mean, we're talking about.
I was going to say, and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't suffering deeply previously,
Yeah, but even like, I work in an office, 5 days a week. We're not ever considering that to happen again. I mean, we go into the office now when we need something, when we need to print something. And, for me, when I need to print something, but we're not having meetings in person, we're doing them all like this. And just the commuting, right? We're not putting all that carbon monoxide into the air. And, so
we're not putting that stress on our body.
Yeah.
And I feel like everyone, Jackson's crazy. Hold on. I feel like everyone being able to use their own bathroom or take a quick nap or a long nap, and look out their own window, and maybe in your time off, like you did something outside, and then when you're working, you can be like, oh yeah, there's that thing I did outside. Like I hung hummingbird feeders that attracted a lot of ants, but sometimes I would see them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love my lunch break. I'm not like, I didn't have to plan my lunch to bring or like look for takeout. I just go in my kitchen and like, if I want to cook something, I cook something. Or that's nice.
Glad. I'm so glad. So how are you going to balance grad school and work?
Well, the program I'm in is for working adults, so that's super helpful. I started grad school about 5 years ago and took a couple classes, and the program just didn't work for me for a couple of reasons. And I changed jobs, and my previous job was paying for it. So I said, okay, let's just take a pause. Like, I didn't have a great experience. Let's take a pause, figure out what's going on.
Right.
And this new program I found is all working adults. So it's a little more flexible. I'm very excited about that. It's all online, and we do some Zoom meetings like once a week, which is nice. So that's helpful. I have a couple of credits I'm transferring in from the last program I started. So really just taking a class or two a semester, starting off with one class a semester. And this program is actually on trimesters. So I'll still finish in spring 2022. So I'll still finish in a year and a half. But a class or two a semester, it shouldn't be too bad. It's definitely, going to be work. It's going to mean I have a little less hiking time, a little less outdoor time, but
winter's coming.
Winter's coming, exactly. So I think it'll be manageable.
What class are you taking?
Operation right now. So the master's, the program is Masters of Science in Engineering Management. It's predominantly engineers for engineers, but because my work is in the workforce development space, it's I just found it to be more. It seemed like it has more value than in like an MBA. It's just business and theory. So
Yeah.
this class that I'm taking now is on operational management and international competitiveness. But
Okay.
really,
Operational management and international competitiveness.
but really what it's about, which I found out in the first weekend, is essentially how kind of business and government intersects domestically and globally. So, look, yeah, so very,
They need to rename that course.
yeah, that's what I
That
agree.
sounds a lot more interesting.
Yeah, I agree, because we're not really talking about international competitiveness. We're talking about, China and TikTok and Huawei and, stuff
Right.
that, yeah, stuff that is, I don't know, I guess you could call it competitiveness, but it's really the stuff
Current.
current, yeah. So there's no textbook, which is great. It's all, every week he's going to send us a batch of articles to discuss.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Feel free to forward any of those articles on to us.
Yeah, so the first, essentially my first class of grad school is a real softball. I don't expect all of them to be like this.
Right. I
But
don't think it is, though. I think that that's sort of like there's some people who wouldn't want to take a class that didn't have the syllabus all laid out so they could be ahead. You know what I mean? Like that amorphous, what's happening in the world, that's what we're going to talk about. You are so comfortable with that you're like, oh, it's a softball. And other people might be like, that's the hardest class I had to take
yeah, I guess you're right.
because of the spontaneity.
Yeah, the one thing I did like the professor said the first day of class was, the difference between like undergrad and grad school is being undergrad, they're teaching you stuff, you have to learn all these things. In grad school, where you're, they want to know what you're thinking, like you're creating thoughts and you're like contributing your own thoughts to the what's going on in the world and existing, I guess works or paradigms and that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty excited so far.
That's so fun.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy school. It's the balancing work. That's the
So
challenge.
is your job that you have now paying for it?
Not clear yet. So they normally
Yes,
do have,
they are.
yeah, so
So
they have
clear to me.
tuition. So there's tuition reimbursement, but
Completely clear to me.
we're a little strapped on cash right now. We've actually had a couple layoffs, which nobody, it makes everybody feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I basically said the program is actually set up for tuition reimbursement. So actually, this is crazy. It's crazy to me. I don't pay until it's over. Like I don't pay until the class is over because so many people in it get tuition reimbursement. So, so that's interesting. But so hopefully my job will pay a decent portion of it.
100%.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I really am happy to hear your story about DC, and I don't want to keep you too long. I know you've worked all day, and can we do this again sometime?
Yeah.
Again?
Yeah.
And share it with people. And also, is there anything you want to tell us? Anything at all?
I don't know, like yoga related or anything related.
Anything related.
Anything related.
Could be yoga. Like you and I know each other through yoga. This is for yoga, but it doesn't have to be yoga.
So, I would just say, like, I've been having lots of conversations with people, like how we endured through quarantine and like the spring and the summer and everything. And it was getting back to my practice, like practicing an hour and a half, 3 days a week, which I'd been away from. I'd been teaching more, and that has been like grounding and the most amazing gift. So like I didn't feel trapped in quarantine as much because I was getting back into my body.
I agree. I totally agree. I haven't felt that trapped in quarantine. And I've been, I've behaved pretty well. So, oh, I'm so glad that you have your practice. I'm so glad that I get to see you. Like the best thing to come out of quarantine for me is Zoom yoga. Because the way my schedule is right now, I get to wake up and see my friends 4 days a week. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And to be able to see, like, I can't believe you used to drive to the studio
3 hours.
Yeah, like every month, 3 hours each way. And a lot of times you drove up, did class, grabbed a snack, drove home.
That's what I did almost all the times.
That was your grad school.
Yeah.
That's probably part of the reason you think this other class is going to be a piece of cake.
Yeah. Yeah. So fortunately for me, I actually like road trips, and I found 3 hour drive is like perfect. More than that can be a lot, but yeah. But I love, practicing with you 3 times a week. I couldn't do that before.
Yeah.
3 times a month would be a lot,
And, Sarah and I had been looking into getting the classes onto some sort of format, and, whether we could mount cameras in the studio or whether it would be like a phone or the iPad. And we explored all these things, and some of the obstacles were like everyone would have to know that the camera was on and everything they said was being recorded, and are they okay with that? What I wanted to do was I wanted to put a little video screen in the sign down on Church Street where they could see what we were doing. And 99% of the time the studio's empty, but when we're in there practicing, it's so cool. And I just think everything's so funny, and that people are pretty wholesome. And everyone was like, you can't, like, one, we can't afford to do that because technologically that would have been a lot. But also people were like, I don't want people watching me do yoga. And then quarantine, it's like, okay, here we are. And people turn off their screens, or, they pop in and out, and no one else is really, people are being recorded. However, everyone's muted. So anyway, it's just so cool.
Yeah.
I really love being able to see you as often as I've gotten to. And that's how come I had so many more questions for you. Instead of me just being like, oh, I got to see you, I'm so lucky, and then off you drive, I was like, hold on. Tell me about this trip to DC. Okay, I'll tell you my version of your trip.
Okay.
You flew down with a very good friend of yours that you love completely. You went to DC just for the protests. And I wasn't sure why a couple photos were like so sparse. Now I realize it was like early in the morning or whatever. But I thought you had to stay somewhere far away, and then you walked all that way, and you were just showing like, look, we're so far away, it's sparse. And then you walked and walked and walked. None of that's correct. I mean, you did love the person you were traveling with, but you didn't fly to DC to do this.
No.
Anyway, yeah, good thing I checked in.
Actually, the highlight of our whole trip was right before that. We were in Durham, North Carolina. We stayed at her friend's house, who was actually out of town. So we stayed in Durham. Was the only day on the whole trip from New Orleans to Albany that we actually took a day off, and like no driving one day. And we went to Eno River Park in North Carolina, and it was just beautiful hiking, swam in the river, played in a waterfall. I mean, that was the highlight of the whole trip. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
The one day we didn't drive.
Yeah. How many days did it take to get home?
6. We took a lot of stops though. We didn't take any drives more longer than 6 hours.
That's great.
I actually ended up flying down a day early. I changed my flight because the hurricane was coming earlier.
Oh, right.
So she originally said, "Hey," the week before, she was like, there was two hurricanes heading towards New Orleans. They both changed course, so like it didn't hit New Orleans as bad, but she was like, "Can you come down a day early because it's not looking good." So,
Right.
so we left a day early. So we ended up having an extra stop. We could have
Did,
done it shorter, but
did the weather chase you? Like, did you get poured on at any point?
it did follow us a bit, but I don't know. We got out early enough that I think the rain was just from different storms, but it did rain a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we were out. We left New Orleans on Sunday afternoon, and we didn't get far. We wanted to at least start getting out, so we made it to Alabama, made it to Birmingham that night. So just starting to get out of the way. But we stayed pretty clear of it the whole way for the most part, even though it was kind of on our tail. We were watching it the whole time to see
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
direction it's going. So yeah, so the real short story is flew down to New Orleans, rescued a friend from a hurricane, um, stopped in Durham for some outdoor time, and then protested in DC, made it home for grad school.
I love it. I love it.
It's a real trip.
I love it. Thanks. I love you, Amber.
Thanks. I love you too.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye. See you soon.
Bye. Mm.